Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Red Couch Talk. Today with us, we have Ryan Garland with Paradyme Funding. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome.
So, Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what it is that you do?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Ryan Garland, as you know, and I own a private equity firm right out of Temecula, and I service pretty much all of California and 11 other states here in the U.S.
Okay, awesome. I know that working with you over the years, you have a passion for single parents. Can you tell us a little bit where that passion comes from?
Well, being at one time a single parent, you know what it comes down to is, I think for me, it really hit home when I went through a divorce. And when you're married, you don't realize how much you kind of relied on the other person, especially when you have a small family, a young family. And through my hardship, I've kind of realized it was just very difficult for me. So I think when I hear someone else go through those hardships, I want to be the light at the end of the tunnel for those, knowing, hey, this is only just a certain period of your life that you'll get through.
Right.
So, and knowing that was probably one of the hardest times in my life, I completely understand when someone's going through those things. And so, without going too far into the weeds, I think my heart just goes out to people that are trying to make it. They have their, have all these responsibilities and no help. So, I get it.
Right. And I know many of them out there don't know this, but you are actually the one that motivated me to get started after, becoming separated. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Really do.
And that's why I'm here today.
Thank you. And I know that you've been through a couple crashes with the real estate industry. So how did that affect you?
Well, one of them obviously was in '08, but I also have had partners take advantage of me, and so this will actually be my fourth time coming back. But the one thing that I do lean on a lot is once you've done it once, it makes it easier the second time and the third time and stuff of that nature. So, and then you also understand certain risks and stuff of that nature. So, going into it, but really the bottom line is that every time you come back, you try to make smarter decisions. Right. And the one thing that I've been leaning on is who you're aligning yourself with and who you surround yourself with. That is probably one of my biggest objectives at the moment is who I'm around and, again, who you're doing business with. Because the reality is we all rely on each other as family to survive. Even though we have our family outside of here, I don't care which way we look at it, we all rely on each other. And so there needs to be a certain moral compass there. And really I think that most of the people, in my opinion, that their moral compass is in line are the ones that have been in the business for a long period of time, have their own business, or have had a significant amount of hardship in their life. And those are the most humble ones that I really enjoy doing business with, because I'm just kind of a cards up guy, so I don't know another way.
Yeah, that's something I also learned working with you hand in hand is that you are very big with loyalty.
Yeah, very
big. My
father kind of, embedded that in my soul, if you will. But on top of that, to kind of go back to one of your questions was, my father raised me since I was 1. And so, my mom wasn't around, and so my father was my best friend. Still to this day is my best friend. I took him out
I see you guys out there shooting.
Yeah, well, I took him out to lunch for his birthday last week, and really got a chance to have a couple drinks with him. I was like, I think I introduced him to Old Fashions, and I was like 3 deep after that. But he really is my best friend. But I also saw his hardship, trying to raise as a single parent. So that's also on top of my own circumstances. But it's again, who you surround yourself with too.
Yes. In addition to taking hard hits in the business, you also took hits in your personal life. Would you mind sharing some of that?
Like in regards to like ex-wife type stuff?
Yes. How were you able to manage rebuilding your family life in addition to building your business once again?
I think my father was a big component to this. But my father always said, because I think as people go through relationships or go through a divorce, they start adding walls.
Yes.
Right.
Guilty myself.
Right. I mean, we all do. I don't care which way we say you either admit it or you don't. We all do. But for me, my father always told me, God can't paint a masterpiece unless it's on a blank piece of canvas, and that stuck with me.
Wow.
And realizing, hey, look, whatever happened in the past, push it aside, and go into your new relationship with peace, knowing that everything happens for a reason, but as long as you do the right thing, the Lord's going to bless you. And so, in having that blank canvas, don't take in all that frustration and anger and all that stuff into your next relationship. Same thing in your business, same thing across the board in everything, every facet of life.
That's hard
And
to
so I think, especially with without going, like I said, too far into the weeds of what I personally been through, that is a hard thing to kind of, crazy, like I want to use my experience to my, but no, I mean, God can't paint a masterpiece unless it's on a blank piece of canvas. And that was really probably a solidifying, I guess, comment for me in my life. But that really did help me going into my next relationship, which now happily married. I only dated for about a year or so after my divorce, but I wasn't one of those guys that went out there and partied it up. Now, don't get me wrong. I had my moments.
Where you bought a boat?
But yeah, I bought a boat. Yeah, don't say that. Yeah, my divorce present to myself was a boat. Yeah, I was at Havasu like every weekend. Yeah, but the bottom line is that I was able to shed that off of me, shed that skin, if you will.
Yeah.
And going into my relationship with my wife now, that I had,
which is beautiful. I've seen it blossom.
I mean, like I was telling you guys before, I kind of stepped over to the side. As an outsider looking in, right now, I have a 2.5-year-old son together, which is amazing. I mean, he's a stud. and then she had a daughter from a previous, and her daughter and my oldest son, which I had from my previous, are the same age, they're 2.5 months apart.
Oh wow!
And they're best friends. And so I got to inherit a little daughter, and I was telling you guys before, her dad and me are best friends, and so it makes things so easy, right? It really, by being able to shed that, I can honestly tell everybody now that has made my relationship very simple and very organic and a lot of true love, in my opinion. I mean, now I feel like I went through like a high school sweetheart thing with her, and she's hot too, so
she is.
It helps. But yeah, it was, that's the best I could say for anyone who's been through something to kind of stepping into the next relationship. But the tables will turn, and there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm hoping that I can, kind of just be another voice.
Like a new chapter in your life.
Say it's real, it happens. Just have faith sometimes. It's hard when you're in it. That's the worst part. It's hard when you're in it.
You're not really looking at it. You got people telling you, hey, do this, and you're like, no.
Yeah, because when you're stuck in it, you don't see it all. It's everything on the outside.
There's going to be somebody that's going to be watching this. I'm like, I ain't going to watch this anymore. Like, this guy's an ass.
He's a lover.
I've been together for 5 years. We've gone through it,
Yeah.
So I could honestly say we were definitely.
I could definitely say you are not embarrassed putting your love out there for her. He puts it out there. Everybody knows how happily married he is.
She makes it easy though.
Yes.
She makes it easy too. So it goes both ways, because you got to choose the right one, right? And so I was very picky, and she was very picky. But I think we went into it being best friends. Kind of a funny story. The very first time we talked on the phone. Now talk about high school, okay? We were on the phone until 5:30 in the morning. When was the last time we were on the phone? 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Right? 5:30 in the morning, and it was crazy because in high school, one of my best friends was a girl, and I always wanted to have another best friend. Plus, she have a girl, she brings her hot friends around all the time. But I wanted a friend like that, and with no strings attached, with someone that I just have a normal, organic relationship with that can be separated because it's the nature of the relationship. And so the first time we were on the phone, I literally told her all of my dirty laundry, like everything I've ever done behind my dad's back out of high school and everything, right? And she did the same thing for me. So as the relationship kept going forward, it was very easy to just be super transparent about everything and being honest and open, because it was like, well, we've shed all of our, again, told each other everything. Like, it makes it easy to just continue to do it.
Exactly.
So we became best friends before we started dating, and that's, I think, was a very good feature to where we are at now. Because we still are best friends. Yeah, we if we don't have date night, we're like, it's crazy because during date night, we actually talk business. Right? It's like we love each other, babe, your butt looks cute today in that dress. Babe, your butt looks great in that dress, but by the way, we got some more work to do. And we really do. We talk, because she's the COO of my company.
Okay.
And she used to open up banks, and she was a bank. So even on from the intellectual stand, or intellectual, how do you say it?
Intellectual.
And there we go. standpoint, we do well. And so she's full of knowledge, and she wants to see the business grow. So that helps as well
And
to
she
have that
understands
support.
the business. She understands your business, which actually helps.
She does, yeah, and there's a lot of moving pieces. So she understands, taking care of your client first and making sure people understand, their money. So it really does go a long way.
Yeah,
That's
good.
the perfect match right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not trying to rub it in or anything. Yeah, we do okay. But I want to be that walking proof that it can happen.
Yeah.
And, but we know that, the 7 years is coming around and we're all going to be button heads. So we've already done that though. We've already gone through all that.
Oh,
so I think
yeah.
we're okay.
So you guys are safe.
We're good. So.
Okay, so let me ask you, I know that you used to work with Anchor Loans. What did you do to become as successful as you are now working with Paradyme Funding, which is your own company, right?
Yeah, I think, everybody gets a door open to them every once in a while, right? I think for me, I was very humbled at a certain time in my life. And my mentor in the business is a guy by the name of Dan Lymel. And Dan owned a company called Alliance Financial. He's very well known in Orange County. And he owned a company, he still does own a company called Polaris Equity Group. And so I worked for him prior to moving to Anchor. But he really took me under his wing. And I remember one time I called him. He was like the only guy I was brokering private money to. This was like back in the 2010 when the NMLS kind of came out. I was doing traditional mortgage, and I did a lot of short sales and lease backs and kind of whatever you could to survive in 08, right?
Right.
And I was starting to pick up a lot of the private money stuff just by osmosis. And long story how I got into that, but I had to kind of make a decision whether I was going to go traditional or private money. I stayed in private money because I felt like I was building a niche for it. And I was doing more volume there than I was traditional. I just kind of went down that lane. But what happened is I kind of picked, a few lenders that I was favoring to submit deals to, and Dan was one of them. Excuse me. And I remember one time, this was through one of my hardships. I was living at home with my ex-wife. We got together and moved back to my family's house. And my wife and my father just were not. They just were not. Okay. And so I had a very short window to stay there. And I remember I had 2 nickels to rub together. I couldn't get gas in my car. I mean, it was bad. And I remember calling Dan going, hey, Dan, look, I mean, I know you don't really know. I haven't even met him yet, but we kind of became friends over the phone because I had done so much deals with him. But I wasn't making a lot of money on those deals, don't get me wrong. So it wasn't like I was rolling. Even though I did volume, I definitely wasn't rolling. But I went to him and I said, hey, look, just all transparency. I mean, I don't have 2 nickels to rub together, and I want to grow in my business. And you're the one guy that I look up to in this world. What do I need to do? And he said, can you come see me? And I said, yeah, I'll come see you. So I went to my old man. I'm like, Dad, can I get $20? I'm in my mid-20s. Okay, this is embarrassing. And so he's like, sure. And so he gave me the money, and I jumped in the car and went out there the next week, I believe. It was like a Friday. I went on Monday or Tuesday. And I met with him, and he goes, look, I'm going to take you under my wing. But the minute you don't do what I ask you to do, you're gone. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to be the only originator for my company, which means you need to work. And I'm not saying 40 hours, 50 hours. I'm talking 80 hours a week. You need to bring volume to me. And at that time, I would do anything, right? So sure. And so he basically, tailored me into the business. And he's one guy that I looked at $400, $500 million a year in ground-up construction loans, besides flips. He had a big, staff of 30 employees. Well, after 08, when all that happened, he ended up having one guy, which was his VP, and a processor, and then it was me. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So then we started, we turned it around. When I came on board with him, I think he had done 5 or 6 million because he just launched the company. Within about 4 or 5 months, we started doing 15, 20 million a month, and we started cranking. And so I was the face of the company. He said, if you can give me enough volume, then I won't hire any more LOs. I'll give you all you want. So I was able to tailor a product that nobody else, no other lenders or no other originators had. So I was able to really walk the streets with my own capital, if you will. And that really changed things, because then I was getting exposed to more deals, more investors, more transactions, different areas. And so I continued to grow in my knowledge, because just like you guys did, the more deals you close, the more knowledge you have, right? So our volume's increasing. And so with Robert Fregoso, which I don't know if you can edit this, but Robert, right?
Oh my God.
Love Robert, great guy. Still to this day, love him. But he was poaching me, right? And what it was is that I want to say that we were probably, it was me alone, was one of their biggest competitors. Now they had a big team. And to say that I was a big competitor for like a team of 3, we were doing volume.
Yeah.
Well, I think Robert was on his way he wanted to go, right? So I ended up, he poached me, and Dan and Rob, they were kind of in their own lane, and I was kind of growing, right? I wanted to infuse technology and grow, and so I ended up making the shift to Anchor. Everything was good, but I ended up shifting to Anchor and loved Anchor, but because they're so big, red tape, which is normal, totally fine. But yeah, that's how I got into getting, introduced to Anchor. And then on top of that, geographically, I'm, 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
So, it was really hard. So I got to the point, and then I went through my divorce too. And so I just got to a point where, like, it's better for me to kind of just work from home, kind of do my own thing. I had a group of, high net worth individuals. Obviously I was doing my own originations. I had built my network up there. And so I just kind of started facilitating my own deals, and that's kind of where we are, how I got to where I'm at today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, very nice. Well, let me ask you. Let me see. What's different about your company than other hard money
Lenders.
Private, yeah. So so besides just financing fix and flips, where I think everybody kind of does that nowadays, we've transitioned heavily into more of the commercial space. But really what we focus on now is we actually have an in-house development team. So not only do we go in and develop our own projects, which helps our overall portfolio evaluation, because we're not giving away so much profit to a borrower or a sponsor, we're actually doing it ourselves. But we also cater to sponsors that have been in the business 40 years, 50 years, have done billions of dollars in projects, and they come to us to raise the debt and the equity component to develop these projects. Like I was telling you guys, like this big multifamily development over here. And on top of that, I was telling you guys earlier is, I was in the fix and flip investment world, and I was breathing, and sleeping real estate investments, but I really wasn't guiding people into how to really invest properly.
Yeah.
So I woke up one morning going, well, when am I actually going to really start investing myself and creating residual income and passive income? And I think it just that time of my life hit, if you will, going, I need to start generating cash flow for myself and start planning for my future. Because all of us as agents, right, we don't have a 401k. We don't have a W-2. This is like how we have to figure that out.
Right.
And all of us are going to say, what if I sit down and go with you guys, what are you guys planning on doing for retirement? And you're going to go, well, that real estate investment. Right? Yeah, or work until you die, right? But you're going to try to figure out a way to buy some rentals or something of that nature. And what we are doing is we're the liaison between, people that really know how to invest, that we kind of align ourselves with, and like developers and right asset classes, great locations, multifamily, recession-proof assets, right? So if the market crashes, where did everybody go? Apartment. If the market crashes, where does everybody store their stuff? A storage unit, right?
Yeah.
So we're really heavy in those asset classes. So going back to your question, the difference is not only do we do the fix and flips, because that's been my bread and butter for so long, and it's very simple for us at this point, but we really are heavily involved into the real estate investment and passive income, multifamily, again, type of asset classes. And that helps us kind of diversify our business. And I think diversification across the board in anything right now is really for us the way to survive, but also set yourselves apart. So I've also hired the right people, guys that have a lot more experience than me. And now it's not just me. We have collectively about 100 years of experience underneath our office. You've been to our office.
Right.
And so that really helps when we put our heads together to make sure we're making the right decisions. So that's, it's definitely a big difference from other private lenders.
That's great. So you have a great team that you work with.
Yeah. On top of that, to add, not trying to sell myself here, but we specialize in opening up certain offerings for investors, right? So for example, I tied into a company called the Crowdfunding Attorneys, which Jillian Sidoti is my securities attorney. So we opened up what you call a Reg A offering. So what a Reg A is that people, even the non-accredited, can invest. So instead of just the wealthy get a chance to go become more wealthy,
Right.
The ones that aren't wealthy, if you will, are able to invest and still make the same type of returns as if someone had millions of dollars to play with.
Right.
And that's where you really start building up your momentum for some decent residual income down the road. And so we wanted to stay focused on, hey, don't forget about the little guys. And open that door so even the smaller people can get involved, even if you know it or you don't know the real estate game. but you can at least start building up some sort of retirement plan. Yeah, and that's really,
Right.
that's what we do differently.
That's great. That's
Can't go
awesome.
wrong. Can't go wrong with
So-
real estate, man.
Now especially if you do it right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You know, because you could be,
You could be in real estate and do everything wrong and not get anywhere.
right, right.
Or you could do it and do right.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You know, the crazy part is the wealthy are always the ones that make more money when the market crashes.
Yes.
Because they're going and buying everything up.
Right.
So we have a model that goes, hey, okay, we're going to invest in things that, if it does crash, we're going to be okay. But when it does crash, we're going to go pick up all the bad stuff. We're going to pick up all that stuff. Not trying to be mean. We're going to go get all the good stuff, and that helps our investors. You know, so ultimately, that's kind of what we do differently.
That's awesome. So, and what other product do you offer?
So besides fixing, we do, so a lot of the larger debt loans, institutional loans, like if you want to do a $20 million commercial refinance or a purchase, we can do that. We're actually in the middle of opening up a property management division. I was telling you guys about a small real estate division, but I don't think we're going to do that. I have great relationships with someone like you, so why do I need to do that, right?
Yeah,
But,
exactly. We'll take care of it for you.
We'll list all your
So,
properties.
there you go.
Don't worry about it.
But I don't, we're going to have added, we're going to have some bolt-ons, if you will, to the company, so that way we can just be more well-rounded and everything under an umbrella. But we're very technology-driven, so we have an amazing ability to be able to communicate with our investors and our clients, and allow people to go right online and see how their investment portfolio looks like as if you invested in stock. We kind of have that whole feature.
Yeah. That's
And then
pretty
you can
nice.
pick whatever investments you want to get into. So it's all really tech driven, and we really believe in that kind of movement. So we're trying to stay on the front lines there too. So hopefully that answers you.
Let us know. We're
Yes,
interested,
thank
man.
you
We're
very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we do a little bit. Anything that has to do with real estate investments, just kind of put it that way. That's kind of how we operate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, usually we always get a lot of guests in our red couch, and most are entrepreneurs and business owners. So we always ask the same question. As a business owner, and like you've been up and down, what advice would you give to somebody who's starting either in this business or any business, or
It always takes longer. It always costs double or triple, and to be patient.
Yeah.
But it will pay off if you have the ability to stay consistent and you have the resources or know how to get your hands on the resources to keep pushing your business. The one thing I'm a big data guy. So I think it was, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I want to say by 2033, almost 51% of our nation will be self-employed.
Wow.
That's a big
That's a big
number.
number.
man.
Yes.
So, that is great because utilizing technology, more people working from homes and this, that, and the other. I try to tell everybody, hey, if you want to chase your dream, it's kind of now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
now.
yeah, I mean, I have all these cool little things that I want to get into, which you guys are going to see me get into.
I'm sure we will.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get into them. But, that's the thing. It's like, if I tell everybody, the best part about today is if you look at, history, 60s, 70s, and 80s, 90s even, if you go to college, you get a college degree. What do they say? 70% of all people that get a bachelor's degree don't even use it.
Yeah.
And stuff of that nature. So there's truth to it. Now, I'm a big fan of education. Don't get me wrong. But, that kind of gives you an idea of how diversified this world really is.
Yes. Yeah.
And the fact that you can work online from a computer anywhere in the world and make a living, and that's great. So I tell everybody, hey, follow your dreams and do what matters. Do something that helps people.
Yes. Yeah.
So anybody who's an entrepreneur, if they want to be successful, if they want material things, put the consumer first and do something that helps people.
Right.
That's where you're going to become wealthy, not only from your soul, but for your own self, your soul, your moral compass. But if you really want true wealth, it's whether you believe in the Lord or however way you want to do it. When you do the right thing for people, the right stuff will come to you.
Yeah.
And that's just the bottom line. So this is the best way to say it. Mhm.
Service the client. That's what
Period.
Actually,
Period.
Paul Argetta is the one that told me service your clients, and the business will come.
It really does.
Yes,
and
it
everything
does.
will come.
Yeah.
And I know we were talking earlier about the crowdfunding you've been promoting. Can you explain what that is and how people can possibly get involved?
Sure. The thing that I really like about crowdfunding is there's no negative press on it. If you look at Realty Shares, I think they raised $800 million. Right now, the performance of crowdfunding, I'll kind of go into a little bit more in depth of what it is, but crowdfunding in general is going to be a $900 billion kind of funding vehicle in the world, and that's a big number. Billion, that's a lot.
1 billion's a lot.
Billions, even there's an S behind the, and so
When it B's, it turned into a V. That's how far it went down.
But crowdfunding in essence is really there was a Securities Act that was released in 2013, which allows people to now solicit for capital for startups. So if you ever heard of startup businesses and stuff, you can start pulling money together and start opening up businesses. And that's really what it is in essence. But we focused it more on real estate.
Okay.
And that's where the non-accredited or anyone who's not wealthy can get involved. That's due to this new act, okay? So in 2013, this was released. So now it allows us to open up the doors to have anybody and everybody invest in real estate. And really what we're doing is we're crowdfunding. We're taking crowds of people and we're putting it into a pool and we're investing that. And that's kind of where that goes. Now, people can invest into one particular deal. They can invest into multiple deals if they feel like they don't want to put all their eggs in one basket. If they have the smallest investment's $20,000. So that's great. Where are you going to get that?
Very good.
You know, $20,000. Like you see that on like info. I deal with insomnia. 3 o'clock in the morning, I see some guy. You can buy this house in the middle of nowhere, and in Mississippi for 20 grand. I'm like, yeah, right. You know? Yeah. But the reality is that we're now allowed to take multiple people, put them into a pool, and invest in real estate, and that's ultimately what crowdfunding is. So at the end of the day, what we did is just bolted on that feature to our business, and it allows us to finance big projects. So as an example, let's say the Colony down here, right? That's a big multifamily development. Now you and I have our thoughts on that one, but let's just say on the area and location, and depending on what kind of income it's going to produce, if you were to invest with us, you get equity in that project. Okay. So now you get to participate in the profits of that project, and then you have that residual income over time.
Right.
So as long as the area and all that calls for it, based on data, everything's based on data, and it supports it, then we'll go ahead and and invest into those deals. And then again, everyone gets those residual income. So that's really what the crowdfunding component to our business is.
This is something you guys oversee the whole project, and you have your people go in and do.
Perfect question. So we don't act just as a lender. So we don't just go, oh great, okay, you want the deal, here, boom, we finance it and we walk away. It's definitely not our model.
Yes.
We actually, that's why having an in-house development team, we actually do what we call a co-development agreement. It means we go in there and we parallel the project managers, even from the GC and the sponsor and all their project managers and their staff. We communicate with them on a daily basis. We share data sources, whether it's like a Dropbox, SharePoint, or whatever third-party company we get to stay in front of the draw request and lien releases and communicate with the GCs and any change orders that are going to change for the construction. We are complete. It's almost like you get everyone's heads are in one room, and we just make sure the development's going to go well. That's kind of the bottom line. And the reason that I really did that is because we've had investments that didn't go well. And the reason they didn't go well is because the sponsor wasn't transparent. And it was getting bad, and it got to a point where it was too bad, so by the time we tried to get involved, once we figured it out, it was too late. Yeah. So if you get in front of it early enough, just like cancer, you get in front of it early enough, you can stop it. Yeah. It's for the most part, right? Yeah. But that's ultimately what we try to say. It's like we don't want that to affect our investors. So us being involved all the way through is really big. It's a must. We won't even look at a deal. My first conversations with sponsors are, you understand we're going to co-develop this together, right? Yeah, I understand. Okay, great. Then we'll move forward. Otherwise, I won't even look at the deal unless they know we're going to be, digging through all their stuff. Yeah.
Right, and by you doing, I'm sorry, Alex, by you doing that, there's something they could go on and oversee the project, right? Seeing how it's being developed, what stages you're in.
Oh, check this out. So whenever it's like technology is great.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the biggest thing? I'm just going to ask you a question now, right?
Oh, no.
You can answer, but you can answer.
I'm not prepared.
Well, so if you invest your money with me, what's the only way for you to find out what's going on with your money? I'd have to provide you updates, or you'd have to physically drive the property and confirm it's being done.
Right, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What we have, there's a company out there that provides construction cameras that are on 365 days a year, and it has night vision and everything, and you can click on it from the app on your phone. So let's say, for example, you invest in this one and that one and this one. Well, every one of our projects have cameras.
Yes.
So you can go on your phone, laying in bed, and you're like, you know what?
This is what I liked about it.
And you can click on your app, and you can choose the properties that you've invested into, and you can see how it's being developed. So if you know, for example, like for us, because we have stuff that's going on in Denver and stuff like that, Well, we don't have boots on the ground, but I have a camera and it's live. And if I know cranes are going to go out there and they're going to install big, steel beams today, I can confirm at 7 o'clock in the morning that those cranes are on site.
Right.
Just by clicking my app.
Yeah.
So from a back office standpoint, it's just a lot cheaper for me to run my company because I don't have to have all this manpower and support. But on top of that, my investors have all that transparency to click on and watch everything that's going on. And so when I say we utilize technology, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I could go on and on for hours. He's not going to have enough tape there, I promise you.
We want the app just so we can.
So yeah, if someone wanted to reach out to you, where can they reach out to you? What's your contact information?
Yeah, I tell everybody to go to Paradyme Funding, Paradyme funding.com, and they can find not only all my contact information, but anybody with the company.
Okay.
Or they can call my personal cell phone, which I don't give it out much, but for you guys I will, which is 951-505-6338.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah,
Ryan.
thank you so much.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys for having me.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
And I have,
So thank you.
Yeah,
We
thank you
appreciate
guys
it.
very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so any agents out there looking for a new office, please give us a call or comment below. We would love to talk to you. Any buyers or sellers out there looking to buy or sell, please give us a call. Alex, what's the number?
The number is 1-800-286-1036, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for your chance to be entered into our weekly drawings of this episode and future episodes of Red Couch Talk.
Thank you once again for joining us, and we look forward to having you join us next week here at Remax Champions, downtown West Covina.
Woo!